Help me welcome him to the stage, Ben Schultezig.
Hey everyone, this thing is on, that's great. So welcome to my talk, Continuous Everything for Droids. And I have two goals for the session right after lunch. One goal is to tell you everything about the famous world of continuous everything. And the second one is I want this to be entertaining a little. So let's start with some trivia about myself. So I have two fur babies, a Boston Terrier named Fräulein Knopf, that's German, and that translates to Miss Button because she's cute as a button. And I have a naked cat called Dr. Evil. The second fact is that I have a soft spot for Scotch. So if you're a bourbon person, we need to talk later today. The third trivia is that I have a ridiculously large head for all the thinking. I'm not kidding, like I have a 3XL bike helmet. My email is breimol@microsoft.com. I am at Elektrojunge on Twitter, and that's me coding. On top of all of that, I'm a software engineer at Microsoft. I joined Microsoft about 3 years ago when a German startup was acquired. That startup's name was Hockey App. Anyone familiar with Hockey App? Oh, wow, that's like 70% of the people in here. That's great. And my team at Microsoft develops a really cool product. It's called App Center. And I have to mention that we have the booth right at the landing on the stairs. And we have a bunch of people here. So please say hi to everyone in my team. There's also a bunch in here. And this is the marketing slide, basically. So App Center is your awesome solution for continuous integration, delivery, testing, and monitoring. You should check it out at appcenter.ms. And we actually have a raffle going on. So if you tweet a picture of yourself during my talk, during the party, or in our booth, we're giving away an Xbox One Assassin's Creed Edition package. And we have some swag as well. Like we have really cool socks, actually. So this is pretty much the text, the hashtag that you need to use. And please also tag @open@Microsoft. So now that we got that out of the way, I have a question for you here in the audience. How far are you guys into your journey to the kingdom of continuous everything? Are you a level 1? You've actually entered the forest of a continuous integration. Are you a level 2? You've entered the clearance of continuous delivery. Are you a level 3? And you've climbed the tree of continuous UI testing? Are you a level 4 where you do continuous reporting and you've actually talked to the owl who told you everything about it? Or have you already made it to the castle and you're a level 5? So can I get some hands? Who's a level 1? Okay, that's a few people. Who's a level 2? Who's level 3? Okay, that's a little more. Level 4? And who's level 5? Who's made it through the world of continuous everything? No one. Well, no matter what level you're at, this talk is for everyone, so don't worry. So let me tell you about the world of continuous everything first. It's a really, really awesome land, and at its heart is a castle. And everyone at the castle lives a cool, famous developer life. You're like in this ideal state of mind. It's almost like nirvana. Like insert your own Seattle joke here if you want. And what I mean by nirvana is that you're doing essential work only. You have a pipeline set up that allows you to deliver your Android app all the time with ease and confidence. Like you're doing minimal setup if you're checking out the project. You're doing minimal maintenance work. And if you're a product manager, you have all the data you want at your fingertips all the time. And I just mentioned product managers, right? So it's really a journey and a place for the whole product team. Wait a minute. This sounds like DevOps on the server, right? And DevOps has been around for a while. Well, that's true for Android devs as well, right? But it's not an entirely solved problem, and let me tell you why. On top of all of the changing requirements that are just a reality in this world of app development, our release process and our app development process for Android apps often is kind of chaotic. There's some uncertainty and a level and a feeling of urgency all the time. And you have a bunch of repetitive, non-essential steps that you perform all the time, like for releasing and packaging your app. And now, enter Microsoft. Just imagine the scale that we do Android development. Like, we have apps like Outlook for Android, Skype for Android. On top of that, we have iOS apps. We have apps for Windows, for macOS. So our scale is really, really big. And it's not just one team that develops an application. Like, we have several teams across multiple divisions of the company. And then we also have teams that are doing what Lisa mentioned earlier today in the keynote. Like, we develop internal libraries and external libraries. So on top of all of these apps, we have like a really, really big and complex app development lifecycle. And for Android, we have, I'm saying the F word, like the fragmentation is still here, it's still a problem. So we spent a lot, like historically we spent a lot of time manually testing the apps. So at one point, like us as Microsoft, realized that like we have to find a solution to the problem. So we set on to a journey of introducing a DevOps process for our Android apps and for our other apps. And I want to share some of the stories and some of the adventures with you. So this is what our journey looks like. We'll start at home and enter the forest of continuous integration. We'll reach the clearance of continuous delivery, climb the tree of continuous UI testing, talk to this weird owl that we met on the journey, and then hopefully reach the castle where all the fame and the loot is. But first, before we talk about like what's needed for that journey, I want to talk about continuous everything as a mindset, because in the end, it's not so much about tools. It's a process that involves devs, PMs, the whole product team, and changing a mindset is not a small thing. Like, scientists believe that it takes about 10,000 repetitions to master a skill, and it takes 3 to 6 months to form a habit. So this is terrifying, but also awesome, because you're actually altering the neurons in your brain. And that sounds kind of cool to me. Luckily, you're not alone on this journey. There's a ton of tools, because like we're in 2018, and you don't have to wander through the woods alone. You have products and tools that hold your hand. Every one of those has their own advantages and disadvantages. Some are only for parts of the journey, some are for the whole journey. I won't say any recommendation. I just say that App Center, which is the icon at the top right, is one of the products. This is still pretty terrifying, actually, like embarking on this journey. But really don't panic. It sounds big and complicated, but like all big changes and all big journeys, you can do baby steps. You can do small incremental changes and still have a good road trip, and in the end, you reach your goal. So this is what my talk's all about. And let's do the first step. Let's enter the woods and the forest of continuous integration. So who here is familiar with the term CI, which stands for continuous integration? It's like most of you. That's cool. So let me do just a really, really, really quick TLDR thing. So CI fights it works on my machine problem, because you're able to build everything on all machines all the time. B, all your tests are green. And C, your project always wins. Because what this gives you is some confidence in the product that you're actually releasing. And you're maybe like, wait, like I'm at a startup, I don't have time for that. Or maybe you're at a large company and you have your own solution and it's kind of complicated, and maybe there's also people who are like doing the maintenance work all the time. Or you're like me sometimes, where you have this idea of doing a prototype on a weekend. And I want to do something crazy. I want to do a live demo that requires the internet to show you how quick and easy it is to do CI in 2018. I'm using App Center for that, but really it's more about showing you how easy it is. I also have to actually switch to display mirroring. I was told this is kind of insane, but I want to do this no matter what. So I mentioned a prototype like a couple of seconds ago. And I wanted to use the prototype to do the demo, but then I learned yesterday, actually, about the conference app, and that it's open source on GitHub. Kudos for that, by the way. But I also noticed on that GitHub project that there is no build badge. So I'm actually using the conference application to set up the CI. The resolution's kind of screwed up, but anyway. So most CI solutions do something like this. App Center looks like that. So you're basically saying that you have an application, and it's an Android app, and you create the project in the CI. And what you do is you connect your repository, like it may be on GitHub, on Bitbucket, or somewhere else. And I have to type correctly, of course. And basically, you hook up your CI to your repository. And of course, it's a live demo. Let me do that again. Damn the demo gods today. Let's select it. Yeah, okay. So what this gives me is actually like it's all the branches in the repository. Let's select the master branch and configure my build. And this is what everybody says, like it takes a really, really long time. It's really, really easy. I want it to run all the unit tests. I want to lint my source code. I want to sign my builds. For this, I actually have to upload a key store. It's a key store that only works for this presentation, so don't steal it. I have to put in my credentials, which are in my cool text file.
What compiler is this using?
This uses your regular Gradle pipeline. The question was what compiler this is using. I think most of the solutions are actually doing that. At least they should. And I also want to test this on a real device. I'll mention this later on. And I want to distribute my builds as well. Like right now, there's only one collaborator. That's me. But I save the build. And it kicks off the first build. The point is, this took me like, I didn't actually use a timer for that. It should have taken me like 3 minutes to set this up. And the build takes like 9 minutes. So that's why we're not actually waiting 9 minutes. But I've done this earlier in the morning on another account, and it really does it. I just did all the steps that I just showed you. And this is what CI should look like in 2018. At least to me, because, yeah. So now let me switch back to my presentation. Let's see how this goes.
Is it that easy for iOS as well?
So the question was if it's that easy for iOS.
Or is it as easy as for Android?
Pretty much, yeah. OK, back to my presentation. Because this is really just a quick demo. Oh, the presentation tool's hanging. My presentation tool just crashed. Sorry about that. Luckily, I am prepared. I have a PDF. Let's switch back to. Yeah, you crashed. I know. Sorry about that. OK, we're back on track. Thanks for your patience. So we're at the demo step. So if you spend like 3 minutes, you set up you've done your first step to make your way through the woods and towards that castle, towards your goal. Because you now know that your project, like whenever you actually push change to your branch or merge a branch, you know that your project builds, your project runs the unit tests and they pass, and you also run your linting. Now you're like, OK, he mentioned unit tests. I don't have time for that. Let me tell you, there is a way, and I'll show you later. But even before that, I want to share something that we do at Microsoft. We are actually using code coverage, and we're enforcing code coverage. And this is something that I'm really proud of, because we're actually enforcing 100% code coverage on our GitHub repository. And for that, we're also using a tool that's really easy to set up. It's not a Microsoft product, so I don't get any money and any kudos for that. But they have an amazing logo, and you can actually integrate your code coverage tools and reports into your GitHub and also Bitbucket repositories really, really easily. And I just wanted to give a shout out to them because it's amazing. But again, this assumes that you're doing unit testing. So maybe you've looked into TDD, and test-driven development is a pretty big change to the way you develop. So I had a couple of thoughts over the past years and months, but I couldn't really put it into words what my philosophy for that is. And then I saw a talk by an iOS developer at the Lead Developer Conference in Austin a couple of weeks ago. And it's an 8-minute talk, and he has the perfect phrase for how to do unit testing or how to get started writing unit tests. And it's TBD. Also, again, it's like you can do amazing puns on that, but you can also say, hey, it's test-backed development. So whenever I write a feature or a method, I'll back it with a test. Like, if I talk to an API, I'll mock the API and write a test for that and do some validation. And that, with my CI solution that I've set up, gives me confidence in what I'm doing and in the code that I'm actually submitting for a PR or that I'm shipping in the end. So if you want to watch that talk, it's like 8 minutes, and I've created a short URL for that. It's aka.ms/tbd-talk. And yeah, so let's move on. We're walking through the forest, and we're reaching a clearance, the clearance of continuous delivery. And what's continuous delivery? Like a couple of years ago, it meant I'm building on my machine, I'm putting the APK in a Dropbox, or send it out via email. Someone's nodding. But again, it's 2018. So today, continuous delivery should look like this. I might build on my machine, but we're using a CI build or a CI server, and that CI server, no matter what product you're using, there is a way to hook it up with a delivery solution. And you can do QA builds. You can do nightly builds for your team. You can even publish directly to Google Play, and that's kind of amazing because it used to be really, really, really stressful to do that manually. And like even if you do it manually today, I mean, we know that we're spending way too much time on that instead of actually focusing on our product and building the tools for our customers. So insert your CD joke here, right? Do we also, by the way, do we have any React Native devs in the audience? No? OK. I wanted to give you a pitch about the tool called CodePush. That's a Microsoft tool. It really means that you're actually pushing changes live into an app that's in the Play Store. If you know somebody doing React Native, mention CodePush to them. But if you remember my slide, my live demo earlier, there was this button that says distribute to, or like distribute that build, right? And what that does is it basically gives me a group of people that I can set up and distribute the build to them. So let's move on to level 3, climbing the tree. And like I said, it's all about the baby steps. So since Google gave us Espresso and we have Kotlin, writing automated UI tests is crazy easy. For that, I actually want to show you my cute little demo app that I did on a Saturday afternoon. So let me mirror my display again. So let's see if the emulator liked that. It actually did like it. OK, let's switch back to my. So what I did is I wanted to learn Kotlin because it's kind of sad that I didn't really write any Kotlin code yet. And I wanted to check out the state of Kotlin in 2018. And to do that, I wrote a really simple pixel art application. And it basically is this grid where you can like paint your pixel art, and it has 2 buttons. It has a button to select the color, and it has a button to clear the grid from the art that I did. And my espresso test for that, the really simple one, in the spirit of TBD, is just checking if there's actually a button that says pick a color and if there's a button that says clear. And we're done. You've already started to climb that tree. You've embarked on the journey. It's as simple as that. And you can run the tests on your machine and on your attached device real easy and in the emulator. But again, we're in 2018. We want more than that. There's like hundreds of devices out there. And for that, you want to automate your on-device UI testing. And luckily, there's a bunch of solutions out there. And in the end, what happens is either through a button or through command line arguments and a command line job that you kick off, you're basically uploading two APKs. Once the APK you want to test, and that doesn't contain any test code, and the other one is the one that contains the test code and runs a test. And I've done that for my pixel art application. Let me switch. No, let's try switching displays again. Come on. And it takes a couple of minutes to run those. And this is what it looks like in App Center. Like, this is my Pixel app. And App Center actually does a launch test as part of my CI where it just compiles the app and tries to launch it and see if it crashes right away. It doesn't. That's cool. And my buttons are visible test looks like that. And what I actually can see is that on a Pixel 2, it doesn't look right for some reason. Like, actually, I personally don't own a Pixel 2, so that's why I couldn't test on one. So here you go. There's a solution for that problem. So let's move on through the presentation. Because we are actually reached level 4 already. Like 3 lines of code as part of my UI that I've been coding, and I'm able to run automated UI tests. As you climb down the tree, there is this owl. It might have had a couple of bourbons already, but between what it's saying is that there's something called continuous reporting and monitoring. And what this means essentially is that you have a way in your application to track how people are using the app, so you know what's relevant for your app. And you also have a way to collect crash reports for your application. And you don't have to do that yourself because people, like, for example, App Center, we have open source SDKs that are super easy to integrate, but there are others who are also kind of cool and do similar things. But for App Center, it's like 1 line of code to set up analytics and to set up crash reporting. And to track an event, like in my application, it's like 1 line of code where you say track event, and then it's the color picker button that was hit. And on a portal, it gives you really, really nice and cool graphs. Like, let me show you. This is from the hockey application for Android that we have out there. Like, come on, Wi-Fi. So you get numbers of crash users and crashes per day, and you have all the stack traces in there. Yeah, full stack traces. There's a problem in our database, obviously, because you can't open it. And that actually happened on Galaxy S6 and 7 devices all the time. And there's for PMs and marketing, there are kind of cool graphs somewhere. Okay, so that actually is the last level right before you reach the castle, and you can do that from scratch. If you have a brownfield app. You can do that in existing projects. It's not a big deal. It's really, really easy. And you've actually made the journey for the first time right away into the castle. Like, you've walked through the forest on continuous integration. You set it up in a couple of minutes. You reach that clearance of continuous delivery, which is essentially a couple of mouse clicks and people that you want to distribute the app to. You've climbed the tree of continuous UI testing. You talked to the owl, who was slightly drunk, but also had this cool news on continuous reporting and monitoring, and you made it to the castle. So this means you can actually kiss the prince, hug the princess, and get the loot, and you're done, right? Well, almost. You can do this journey again and again, because like I said, habit forming takes 3 to 6 months. And mastering a skill takes like 10,000 repetitions. But you have a bunch of tools, so you don't have to wander through the woods alone. App Center is one of them. appcenter.ms is our domain. And we're also hiring. So if you're interested in what working at Microsoft looks like, come to the booth, talk to every one of us. There's at least one engineer over there, Matthias. Can you please stand up or raise your hand now? OK. Yeah, we're hiring. So thanks a ton for attending my talk. And if you have questions, we have 15 more minutes for questions.
We've invested a lot of time in Fastlane. I was curious about how, is there ways to use Fastlane with App Center or
OK, so
or
the
would
question.
you replace it?
OK, so the question was if App Center or other products use Fastlane, right? In one way or the other, all CI solutions either use Fastlane directly, wrap it away in some way, or have super similar implementations. So did that answer the question?
I'm more curious, like, we've done a lot of, custom scripts. Is it now going to be like a UI that?
So that depends on the tool a little bit. Some of the CI solutions have like buttons to enable Fastlane, and you give them the credentials basically, and then they run the script for you. But most of them, like App Center has post-build scripts, for example. Like basically, like they'll execute the post-build scripts for you. And if you have like a detailed question, like I pointed out to Matthias, but Matthias is part of our build team, so he actually, like, we can actually help you if you want to get started with that. Yeah?
So, hi. I just wanted to ask, is App Center free for open source projects, or is there a paid tier?
So App Center is free to get started. So crash reporting, analytics, and distribution is free. We don't have a plan for open source right now. I think if you shoot us an email, we might be able to work something out for you. For build, actually, it's free to get started. You have about 4 hours of build time for the free plan a month. Automated UI testing, it's free for 30 days, and after that, we charge you for it.
General question, but somewhat behind App Center for in production tests, things like feature flags, A/B testing, DevOps. What solutions do you think would be good to use, if not from App Center? Anything else?
So the question was like if I have suggestions for A/B testing, and was that about right?
Yeah, the whole
And
suite of things,
whole
things
suite of
that are
things.
not just A/B testing, but
Okay.
feature flag
And
testing.
feature flag testing?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't have a recommendation. App Center doesn't have anything like this today. So what I didn't mention in my intro is that before I joined Microsoft, I did contracting work already. So I don't have a recommendation, basically. I've tried a few products personally myself, like from my contracting times, and since then looked at stuff, but I don't have a recommendation. I wish I had one. We're like, I think their PMs are actually looking into that for App Center, but there's nothing that I can share with you.
Thank you.
Sorry. I should have mentioned to the DroidCon folks that I have a QA at the end of the session. Sorry, Sean.
Hi. Is there any way you can actually send a build based on build variant using App Center?
Yeah, you can.
Or you can?
Yeah, let me show you. Like when I configured the build, let me move my screen to right. Oh shoot! Sorry, multi-monitor setups are hard. So App Center actually picks those up right here. So if you have more than two, then it'll just pick them up.
Thank you.
Welcome. Like, if there's no questions, I'm also super interested. Like, I'm also super interested in your thoughts around like CI, CD, the whole pipeline. Like, aside from App Center or from products, like I'm happy to talk about App Center, of course. Like, but like if you want to talk things over coffee or beer, just please talk to me. Like, I'm super interested in your thoughts.
Hi,
Yeah,
hi
there's a
Ben. What was that code push you were talking about for native development?
Yeah.
CODEPUSH?
Yeah. Let me just do. Let's do that ad hoc. Well, where there? Yeah, my deck set crashed again. So let me do. So it's code push. Yeah. Yeah. That's for React Native applications, not for native Android ones.
So it's a tool website or at a...
Yeah, it's a tool basically that you, like the general idea is you merge to master and run code push, and your app's code push enabled, and it just pushes the changes into your live application basically.
Thank you.
Great talk, by the way.
Thanks.
Do your emulators, do they run on, are they ARM or x86? It's,
I don't know. They're probably x86, but the automated UI testings you saw, that's actually physical devices.
oh,
So we have like server rooms with devices, and I think the last number I heard was like across iOS and Android, it's like 4-something thousand different device OS combinations. Yeah.
Any question?
Hey, so with our app, our revenue model is mostly just, advertisement, display ads, interstitial ads, and stuff like that. So with automated UI testing, we obviously don't want like the device farms tapping on these ads and things of that sort, because we've been messing around with like Firebase robo tests, like Firebase pre-launch reports, things like that. Do you have any suggestions for like getting around that or anything like that?
Personally, I don't.
Okay.
What we do for analytics, you probably don't enable those for your automated UI, build targets, basically.
Right, so you have like a special build target that says
You have to
don't
do
run
that.
ads on
Right.
this.
For App Center, you have to do it manually.
Yeah.
I don't know about other products. We have heard this feature a couple of times, actually. So I guess
Feature request.
yeah. Okay. I think people are taking notes about feature requests. So
Cool, thanks.
yeah. The hashtag, okay, let me, come on. Sorry, it's hashtag DroidConBoss for, and the account actually is Android Open. Let me go there, where is it at the beginning? Sorry. What is it doing? Come on. Yeah, Open at Microsoft.
Hi.
Hey, so, yeah.
I was just wondering the code push you showed, which is for React Native.
Yeah.
There's something like that with the App Center as well for Android and iOS?
No.
Oh.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. Right, okay.
So I'm not sure if this was in those charts and graphs that you were showing earlier, but one thing that we're actually really interested in doing for our application is to do or to move performance regression testing into CI. Does App Center support that, and can you just maybe give your thoughts on performance regressions in a CI environment?
So let me switch to mirroring so I don't have to talk to the screen that much. So what I kind of gloss over was that in our UI testing, you have like this hardware usage at the right. So for that, yes. Other than that, we don't have anything built in. I mean, you have, like on iOS, you can do them, like the performance testing through your XC UI tests. On Android, you can do the similar thing, right, yourself, but there's no built-in like performance tracking other than what I show you here, like loading duration, basically average load duration, and memory CPU usage.
I mean, I guess one metric that we're specifically really interested in seeing, especially on CI, would be something like dropped frames within a UI test, and you can get that through like automated tooling in CI.
Okay.
So.
I love the feature requests, by the way, because A, we have people from our team in the room. B, like if you click on our website, on that blue button on the right, you're basically also talking to us engineers, and we're collecting feature requests there. We are actually on Twitter as App Center. I didn't mention that. So, and it's not just marketing folks, it's also engineers who monitor that. So, yeah. Plus our SDKs are open source, and we're trying to be as open as possible with the development stuff that we do. So, like, if you have feature requests, keep them coming. Yeah, other question.
So I guess this is related to the feature request, possibly kind of thing. So two related things. One, if you're using kind of a Jenkins environment to do a lot of this stuff, you can get a pull request builder that will actually go, and as you have people working on different feature branches on GitHub, say, it'll build the PRs and then run the tests and do a continuous integration build on those things. Do you have anything planned or like that?
So for App Center, it's a feature request that we hear a lot. Also because, to be honest, the competition supports that.
Yeah. And it's a really nice thing to have, too.
So,
and related to that, you talked about the linter.
For our SDKs, we're actually using Visual Studio Team Services, which is also a Microsoft built product. So we're using that, and you can have it right there. So
Cool.
We can chat about that, though.
I was just wondering about lint configuration as well. So I noticed you had the lint switch in there. How does that kind of evince itself? Like, how do you see the lint report, and can you set it to, like, if I have a lint, over warnings over a certain threshold or whatever, fail?
So I mean, it depends on your gradable settings, right? Like what you want. Like if you want to just like fail on lint, basically. If you want to be, and you can download the full build log, so you can have the reports right there.
Last question.
Okay. Yeah, there's one more. Yeah, sure. One more. Like I said, we're at the booth all the time. Like we're all mostly engineers at the booth actually. So
I will be coming by, obviously, because I got more than one question. So from a QA perspective, so you've shown the espresso test as more of like a white box. I'm a developer. I know what I'm grabbing. I know what I'm looking for a test. But from a QA perspective, are they able to write any scripts that could plug into this kind of material? Are they able to use anything where they can say, okay, I'm looking at this requirement, I'm looking at the screen output, all right, I'm going to be able to write this test with your tool?
I can't answer that right now. So.
Fair enough. And I love your shirt, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. I try to have a theme going on here, right?
So I might be able to answer a little bit of that. I consult with a lot of companies, small, medium, and large. And there are a lot of people who are making the transition. I was talking with a pretty big bank down in Virginia where they have traditional testers that like do a lot of manual stuff, and they really think about what they do. So these aren't like the run-of-the-mill, right? But they were making a major switch from Appium over to Espresso and XE Test. They were capable of doing that. There are some people that aren't, and most people who aren't it's not because of them, it's because of what they've been enabled to do. So my suggestion about the Espresso is it's the most absurdly easy test framework I've ever seen in my life. I mean, apart from Gherkin statements, which are even more complicated actually, there's no excuse not to, except for the fact that those tests have to be typically part of the same code base or split out into a separate module. And so you might have that cultural problem of like, well, testers shouldn't have access to the code. Why the hell not, right? So long as you're under NDA, so long as we all trust each other, isn't this like trust but verify, right? And tests are verification. So to your point, I think like QA should be able to script, but you gotta have a company that enables that, allows them to come to conferences like this.
I love this, that we had the conversation going on. You're awesome. Anyway, thanks for attending my talk. If you have questions, you know where to find me or the rest of the team. And yeah, thanks for paying attention to that.